Did y'all know that Gandalf was Jewish and he could bend metal?
What if Hermione actually wiped her parents' memory while she was having a fit, and then she just spun it so she could be a hero?
I think a half-breed between a Wookiee and Yoda species would actually be the coolest species in Star Wars.
I guarantee you that Batman can use the Force. He's way too good.
Welcome to the Council of Nerds.
Dan.
The Council of Nerds.
Welcome to the Council of Nerds, ladies and gentlemen, to our final Harry Potter episode. Cheers and sadness all the way around. My name is Brian, and as always, I am joined by my lovely co-hosts, Logan and Dan.
Hello.
Hello there. Today we do have a special guest, though. His name is Connor. He hails from the frozen lands of yore. Connor, please introduce yourself a little bit.
So, I'm Connor. I have been listening to the Council of Nerds since the very beginning because I'm really close friends with Logan. Just some fun facts.
Nice.
I am in the Slytherin house, and my Patronus is a dragonfly.
What?
That's actually like low-key super cool Patronus. Mine's a black mamba, but it's because I deliberately answered the questions the opposite of what I normally would have. So my reverse Patronus, it's actually like repeatedly been a cat, but I don't like cats, so I just kept redoing it.
Is it a Tonkinese cat?
Yeah, it's the freaking no, it's like a minx cat, the one without a tail. The stupid. I'm like, I'm not even.
My wife's
Dude,
Patronus
mine's
is
a-
a Tonkinese cat, and she continuously tries to redo the test, but is always a Tonkinese cat. She hates it.
That's mine's a hedgehog.
Little
Yep. Silence everyone.
Well, Connor, welcome. We're glad to have you. We're excited to listen to you test your nerd steel with us. So this is going to be fun. And again, to anybody
Good to be
who
here.
is ever on our Discords or listens to these things, drop a line. Let us know if you're interested, and we might get you on an episode 2 in the future. Just let us know.
Yep.
Always nice to have extra voices to give new perspectives. But,
Yep.
Logan, I'll let you pick the first category today. What do you want to talk about first?
Well, this is the end. We're talking Harry Potter 7, the second part of Harry Potter 7. I finished the book today, and I was thinking a lot about how, like, we always go into like the likes and dislikes that we have between the movie and the book.
Right.
And as I was listening to it, though, I just kind of felt like the book is kind of, I know they're the same thing, the book and the movie, but they're not at the
Right.
same time, if that makes any sense. Like, I really enjoy the book and I really enjoy the movie. So it's not like I have like these petty dislikes because one has more stuff and the other doesn't or whatever. I really like both of them. And it's like, yeah, I recognize there's some stuff that they don't throw in the movie, but sometimes I get it. I get why they don't. But I think we should just kind of start out with things we like. So I think we should start with the positives of the book and the movie. I don't think we should be like comparing right now. Let's just talk about the things we liked in the book and the things we liked in the movie. To start it off, I'll start off. One thing that I really liked in both, and I'm not gonna like start from the beginning. I'm going ahead kind of, but is Snape's memory. Snape's memory in the book, I think everybody can agree, is like one of the best parts in all the series of Harry Potter. And in the book, it has a lot more than what's in the movie.
Sure.
But in the movie, I loved it. Like, I did. Like, I don't think there was anything that, like, yes, they didn't put in some stuff, but at the same time, it was like, I don't really care. This is awesome. This looks cool. It's getting at the point of Snape's memory, and it
Right.
just
It's very
is
like flashpointy. Like it was.
yeah. And I thought it was just really good. It was really well done in both. But it's one of those. I think the only thing that maybe I would have liked a little more, I guess, in the movie is just I felt like there's a little more of the Dumbledore interrogating Snape thing. And I thought that was cool in the book. But it's not in there, and it's not like I can change it. So, but yeah,
I like that part in the book because it proves the opposite of what Harry has accused Dumbledore of forever, is that he just trusted Snape. Like, it didn't matter what Snape did, Snape was okay with Dumbledore. And it's like, no, he had to get to where he was for Dumbledore to trust him that much. And then I think the book really highlighted that point, and I think that's something that hits book Harry hardest in that memory, is the knowledge that Snape pushed himself to be where he was at and really did fight for, well, ultimately Lily, but the good side,
Yeah, agreed.
But, let's see. I actually really liked the dragon in Gringotts. I thought that was a very well executed, like what I had in my head. Fun fact, the breed of that dragon is an Ukrainian iron belly.
Hey, that is a fun fact because I was wondering that the other day when I was listening to the book.
Yeah, and that is the largest of the dragon breeds, but that dragon itself is stunted in growth because it was kept underground in that kind of cavernous area. And it also should not be pale like that, but it wasn't able to be exposed to the elements where it would don its kind of harder dragon hide. So it's very fleshy. Like, it has cuts and everything that normally you wouldn't see on a dragon, but that's just all because of the stunted growth cycle. A lot of random useless facts there.
I like it. From your book, right?
Never useless. Never useless on the Council of Nerds.
But I liked that, like how they went about that. I thought the sequence with, in the book it almost seems more violent with the hot like gold items in the vault, in Bellatrix's vault. Like, they have that spell that basically like melts their skin. Like, and it seemed a lot more violent in the book. So toning it down a little bit, I thought was okay. But at the same time,
gave me anxiety in the book.
Right, in the book, at the same time, I'm like, y'all would be straight up dead. Like, no, like, your foot would be gone, like, your arm, like, something would be missing by the time you get out of there. Like, Grip Hook, like, all you can see is his fingers. I'm like, yeah, no, that guy's roasted, man. Like, he is done.
He was only in, like, 3 feet of, like, treasure, because but he was still at fingertips.
Like Ron's hip. He's like, what the heck is that? And it's just Grip Hook's fingers, just like, help, please. But I thought it was a really good adaptation from what I had in my head, especially with the dragon and all that. But and then I think about all the muggles that looked up and saw a dragon flying over London, and that all crapped their pants, and I would have probably done the same thing. So, but I like that part a lot.
Agreed.
Me too.
Dan?
Yeah, I wasn't here last week, as our avid viewers know. Or the week before that, I think.
Avid viewers.
So I'm not sure if this was talked about last week, but I think one of the things that I liked the most about this book, the 7th book, is like how much background it gives you into like people's lives. Like, you get background into Snape's lives, his motivation. You also learn a bit about Dumbledore. I think that's in this book. It might be the 6th one. I could be confused about that.
A little of both.
I think
it's been
a little in both. Yeah. I think my favorite thing is when you learn about Voldemort as Harry's figuring out the Horcruxes. You learn, kind of like the story of like his progression almost, and you get to see him when he goes to Dumbledore's office. I just think that's really cool that you get like more background, and obviously like they weren't able to fit that into the books very well, or into the movies very well.
I was like, what?
But yeah, no, they couldn't fit in the books. Yeah, but I've just liked it all, book and the movie. I think the movie's definitely one of my favorites. I think splitting it into 2 movies was a really good move so that we could get even more stuff, because there's a lot.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I think when I think of the 7th Harry Potter book, and then I think of the conclusion books of other book series that I've enjoyed, like, I'll take Hunger Games as my example. I feel like the last Hunger Games book wasn't as good as the previous ones, whereas Harry Potter's, like, probably the best written book. Well, I'm just debating in my head at the moment whether or not I think it's the best book or not. But, I mean, it didn't get worse. Like it just the
that's true.
stride was there and it stayed in its stride. And I mean, when you think about it, they lost a pivotal character in Dumbledore in the previous book, and that can damage a lot of series. When sequence. Shut up, Brian. But they didn't let that affect. She didn't. J.K. Rowling didn't let that affect the continuity of the story, and used it as a tool to propel the entire story forward. So, I think it's an understatement, but I liked Dan's statement of it's just good. Like,
Yeah.
it is. It is just good. It's something that I could reread that book for the rest of my life, always, and it would be totally. I'd totally be okay with it. I'm not making fun of that scene. I love that scene, but it's
it's
just,
good.
but yeah.
It worked. Connor, what do you think?
I think I was trying to use the always at some point during the
Got him.
There's
the
always another
podcast,
chance.
but Brian got there first.
I'm a seasoned vet, bro. You got to wake up earlier than that, man.
Oh man. Yeah. Well, one of the things that I wanted to talk about was I really liked. I was told to look at comparisons between the two.
Yeah, sorry
so
about that.
I have a comparison of which one I liked more,
We'll go for it. We could do that.
and that is, I actually have two from that I liked more in the movie than the book, and that's not to say the books are bad or anything. I love the books. I've read
How
the whole
dare
series
you.
through. I've read the whole series
Get
through like
outta
4
here.
times. But one of the things that I liked more in the movie was Snape's death, because in the book, he just kind of has the case or whatever that Nagini is in go over and envelop Snape.
I just imagine a giant crystal ball, like
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
like Mysterio's helmet in Spider-Man. It's like
Yeah, I thought that death was like really weird
It was a little weird.
almost.
in the
But
book.
then like in the movie, like Voldemort actually does like a wand slash kind of thing and then has Nagini like feed on him, I
Well,
guess.
I mean,
or
that
eat
is an
him.
interesting point because in the movie, it seems that Voldemort gives Snape more. Like, it's almost. People always talk about that if Voldemort kills you himself, it's like almost an honor. It's like he thought that you were powerful enough that he needed to take care of you himself. So I think I never really thought about that, but that's a good point. That it seems like, at least in the movie, Voldemort cared more, like in his own weird, sick way. But
Yeah. And then as Snape is there dying and Harry goes in, rather than just having like all of the whatever that fluid thing is, the memories like flowing out. I liked how in the movie he looks at Harry and like holds him and says like, "You have your mother's eyes."
Yeah.
I really like that because as you hear that through like the series, you're just like, oh yeah, sure, he has his mother's eyes. But then like when Snape says it, you know that there's feeling behind
freak,
that.
Connor, you're giving me goosebumps,
And I loved that
bro.
because that's not.
That's deep. We just started, dude.
God, you're coming in hot. Like
I had to. Well, he told me to get up early, so I did.
No, that's a good part that I was going to talk about that too. Because, like, I felt like in the book, it was just kind of Snape, he started to fade, he started dying. And then he told Harry to look at him. But he doesn't say that line. He doesn't say, you have your mother's eyes and then die. It's just like, take my memories, my tears, and then look at me. And then he dies. But in the book, I felt like it was a lot more like, this, what's the word, sentimental, I guess, moment between the two. But it's really weird. I mean, think about Harry's position there, right? He's hated Snape forever. And to that, even while he's dying, he thinks Snape killed Dumbledore out of, like, hatred, out of being a bad person, out of being a Death Eater. But he didn't. And so there's, like, you got to think about the emotions, I guess, of Harry Potter at that moment, too. Because, geez, man, like, can you imagine, somebody that you knew was actually a traitor and killed somebody you were, who was basically like a grandfather figure, I guess, right in front of you, and you're kept in the dark, and you just think you killed him because he's evil, and then you have this happen, and you're like, why does he want me to look at him?
the
Like,
whole
why
world
did
is
he-
shattered. Yeah.
Like, yeah, and then it's like, dude, yeah, I know my I have my mom's eyes. I've been told my whole life. And why are you being so nice, Snape? Like, you've been hating on me for the past 7 years.
Haters
And
gonna
then
hate.
And then he looks at the memories and he's like, ah.
I've been the jerk the whole time. No, but I think even further down that rabbit hole, not only does Harry think that Snape has killed Dumbledore out of malice, like you said, but because of other things that he's learned, he finds out that Snape is really the reason that the prophecy was ever told. He's the one who told Voldemort about the prophecy about him and his parents.
Yeah.
So in another, and Snape holds on to that guilt forever because he blames himself for the death of Lily. But Harry, on top of all that, thinks that this guy really, aside from Peter Pettigrew, who's dead at this point, is responsible for his parents' death. And I could picture in his head, when in the sequence where he says, "You have your mother's eyes," it's like, well, how dare you talk about my mother in this moment? Like, it's your fault. Like, having that moment, and then you're like, well, I guess I got to go look at these weird white fluid things. And then realizing that you've just been a jerk the whole time.
Yeah, that's a good point. I have another one that I liked more from the movie than the book, and that's like the fight scene at the end between Voldemort and Harry. Because in the book, Neville is just cut off the head of Nagini, and they all start like battling, and somehow they all just move into the Great Hall and start fighting, and then eventually like everybody makes this big old circle, and Voldemort and Harry just circle each other for what seems like 5 or 10 minutes, to where Harry and Voldemort are just going back and forth, but Harry's explaining a bunch of stuff.
It's a monologue, dude. Haven't you ever seen Incredibles?
You got me monologuing.
Yeah, man.
I just don't see that happening. So I liked how in the movie, how it's more intense, and there's like more wand work and more like defensive spells, offensive spells, like being shot at each other like through the whole thing. And then eventually at the end, it kind of ends with their wands connecting once more. I just think that it's done really well in the movies.
I will agree with you, except for one sequence when when Harry like hugs Voldemort and is like, "Let's finish this together, Tom." And I'm like,
yeah, that one was weird.
I thought you were... First off, no. Second, why are you hugging him? You did see the creepy Draco hug, right? Like, that didn't go well, so why are you looking for some yourself? Third, why are y'all morphing and being all...
That's the weird part.
Yeah, I didn't... Nah.
Mm-hmm. The hug part is like...
Their faces when they line up or something like that?
It's freaky, yeah. I think the hug part is like, okay, yeah, it's a little weird. But it's when they start morphing together where I was like, what the heck, dude? Like that
he doesn't have the Horcrux in him anymore, so it's not like y'all are the same person anymore. Like,
you say y'all a lot, I just noticed. Sorry. Anyway, so that part's really good though. I actually agree with you on 2 counts. Sorry, more than 2 counts. But I agree that the movie is, I like how that fight is. I like how there's a lot of fighting, and there's like fighting during the monologuing sort of thing, like while Harry is explaining why the wand didn't work for him and all that stuff. But I do like in the book how, because Harry hadn't revealed himself as alive yet, and what's her name? Mrs. Weasley kills Bellatrix, and Voldemort gets really mad, and Harry's under the invisibility cloak, and he takes it off and does the Protego, the protection charm, like that. I just motioned like I'm doing it. But then he's like, how is he alive? Like, everyone's like, what the heck? He's alive again? And then he goes out there and starts monologuing. I like the monologue, though. I like the whole thing with, like, them talking and him explaining it.
Voldemort's just getting progressively pissed off the book keeps saying but he was too intrigued. He had to listen. Like,
yeah, it's like like he's like, Voldemort thought for a moment, like, wait, could this kid like know something I don't, basically? So he just keeps listening. I like that, but I do like the movies. I like the fighting. I like fighting more, and it works for the movie a lot more. But I think as a book, it wasn't bad. It was good.
Yeah, there's always going to be more lore, like, in the books.
Yeah.
Just because, like, I wanted to calculate it all out before this, because you guys have talked about, like, oh, they could have added this, like, into the movie. And while that's true, like, if you just listen to the audiobooks from, like, start to finish, that's a week's worth of content, whereas the movies are, like, 2 days or something. So there's always going to be more lore and good stuff.
Here's this guy telling us how to do podcasts, just showing up.
Look at him, Mr. Math.
on Audible I think the seventh Harry Potter book on Audible, like audiobook wise, is 21 hours long or something like that.
It's 21 hours, yeah.
So I mean, if you can imagine sitting through,
To squeeze that down to 4 hours.
I would watch
that's
a
pretty good.
21-hour long Harry Potter movie.
I would watch
I would too.
I would watch a 21-hour-long episode TV series of Harry Potter.
Boom.
I would watch a 22-hour-long TV miniseries.
Ooh, TV
special.
miniseries. Ooh.
Okay.
Shots fired.
Dan's not sleeping.
he got
Dan
you.
woke up early.
I did want to talk about something during that fight scene in the movie. It's not a fan theory. It's a deleted scene from the movie. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
I actually haven't.
But it's Draco running and throwing Harry Potter his wand during the fight scene. I think that's really cool. I'm not going to try to describe it because a picture's, worth 1,000 words, and it's a minute-long video. It's like 30 frames a second. So that's
you don't
like a
actually
million
know what's
words.
going on in this video at all.
No, I do. I basically just gave it. I'll link it in our Discord.
skimmed it.
Check
He
out our Discord.
Shameless plug.
It's
But no,
our
no, it's a
podcast.
really
We
good
can plug
scene.
whatever we want, man.
Oh yeah. But I like the scene. It feels like it kind of redeems Draco's character in the movie because I've always been dissatisfied with his ending. They just kind of walk
That's
away,
fair.
which is like the Malfoy thing to do.
It's so
But
Malfoy.
it's still just so dissatisfying that they're like, "Well, let's
That
go."
also, the Malfoy ending in the book is completely different because in the movie they have them walking away, like you said, all three of them just walking away, and in the book they like stuck around, and when like it's all over, Voldemort's dead, and everyone's in the Great Hall just like talking and stuff. They say that or J.K. Rowling wrote that all the Malfoys were right there, and they were like, it was awkward, like they weren't sure if they belonged there or whatever, but nobody really cared. Like it was like whatever, it's
we
over.
survived. Yeah.
Yeah, it's done, and I thought that was kind of cool. I think I kind of wish they would have put that in the movie, just because the Malfoys are an interesting bunch, and Draco especially has a really really cool story.
Talking about the battle sequence, it was mentioned. I think Logan, you mentioned Bellatrix and Mrs. Weasley's fight, but that moment for me, where she drops like the hardest curse that's been in Harry Potter movies, just goes bleh. Like I'm like, woo.
Yeah.
Like first off, I'm like that. All right, and then she gets mom mad, and then. Like, I think it was, like, the first time in the movies that it represented the woman that Fred and George actually feared.
Yeah.
Because it's a running joke, right? There's parts where, like, Hermione... I think it's the sixth one. No, it's the fifth one. Where they're testing their puking pastels and stuff on first years, and Hermione's like... He's like, what, are you going to put us in detention? She's like, no, but I will write your mother. And they're like, you wouldn't. Like, they instant, like, the game has changed, bro. She has thrown an audible. What is going on? Like, and they're terrified of this, like, 5-foot pudgy woman, right? And I think that's the moment that you see that. And on top of that, she wanted a daughter her whole life. And she just kept having sons. And she finally gets a daughter. And I can only imagine if that's really like you kept having kids in order to have a girl. Like there's people out there that do that. But if you did that, how much you would then protect that son or daughter more so. Like I don't like just like the mom rage that would come out in that moment. Very awesome. Like super great moment for Mrs. Weasley. culminating in like having all this fear this whole time that she would lose so much of her family, and sadly does lose a large part of that family. But yeah, I think it's a good moment. It's definitely, excuse my French, kick ass.
Yes, that's a very good moment. Two things. Another good moment from the book is Voldemort's death and then the disposal of his body. The movie's version is a little weird, I think, with him like turning into like
Dust,
I guess, yeah. But in the book, you know, he just dies, body flops right there, and then they just like pick it up and take it into, what do they say, like some corridor or some room, basically like a broom closet, and just flop it in there so it's out of the way of everybody. And you're just like, man, the kids at Hogwarts, they got no chill at all. They're death is like whatever. Harry started killing people at like 11 years old, and
we're used to
batted
it.
They're
an
definitely gonna have some issues.
like,
Yeah.
he got 60 points for it. You know, like they just flopped this dead guy's body in another room.
Dumbledore
It's kinda
condones
gruesome,
murder. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's not like it's a big deal.
Yeah, so I thought that was a cool part. And then one other thing I just wanted to bring up, which I did not realize, but in the 7th book, bad people and good people, everyone who dies in just the 7th one, it accumulates to 23 people, which I think is pretty crazy. I'll just list them out because they're pretty good. They don't show all of them or mention all of them in the movie. So there's Charity Burbage, Hedwig, Mad-Eye Moody, Rufus Scrimgeour, Grigorovich, Bathilda Bagshot, Ted Tonks. Wait, Ted Tonks doesn't die. Ted Tonks is born,
does.
you fool.
Yes, he does.
So we are down to 22.
Ted Tonks,
so
like-
is false.
No, it's Tonks's dad.
Oh, yeah.
Who-
You're right.
Yeah. It's him and
Oh,
Dirk
okay.
Cresswell who are traveling with Dean and Griphook and that other
Right.
goblin.
Yeah,
and
you're
then
right.
they hear on the radio that
Dirk and Tonk.
Ted Tonks and Dirk Cresswell had
You're right.
died.
That was a dumb moment for me, everybody.
We forgive you.
Bruh.
Gornuk? Who's Gornuk?
The other goblin.
Was he that?
The other goblin.
Oh, right, okay. Peter Pettigrew, Gellert Grindelwald, Dobby. Rest in peace, Dobby.
Rip Dobby.
Vincent Crabbe, Goyle, Fred Weasley. Rest in peace, Fred Weasley. It's a very sad moment. That was not as sad as it should have been in the movie, by the way.
No.
Severus
I don't
Snape.
wanna talk about that.
Yes, we must talk about that. Also, along with Fred, not being as sad as it should have been, Remus Lupin and Nymphadora Tonks. Also, I think they should have put this in the movie, and they did not. And I didn't even realize it until I was listening to the book today. Colin Creevey dying.
I know.
That is really sad. Even though he was really annoying.
Doesn't his brother die too?
Wasn't
it Colin and Dennis
just-
that snuck
it
back, or was it just
just
Colin?
Colin's the only
Colin.
one who dies, but Dennis
Yeah.
snuck back as well.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's like such a sad
and-
part where like, I think it's like Seamus and Neville are carrying his body back into the castle while Harry's under the invisibility cloak, and he sees him go by, and he's just like, that's the annoying kid that was taking pictures of me. You know what I mean? And then you have Ginny that's just like with this other student, and she's just like, everything hurts, and Ginny's like, I know, everything's okay, like trying to help her.
Yeah,
and you're just like,
she's like, I want to go home. That's what the girl kept saying. She's like, I just
you're
want to
so-
go home, and you're like, yikes. Sorry.
it's so rough, man.
I don't, and then Lavender Brown. I was okay with that death. That might sound dark, but she just annoyed me.
Rip Lavender, Rip Lavender.
Also, very
Ronnie won.
portrayed really well in the movie. I thought that death that was cool.
Yeah.
With
That is a-
Fenrir
that is
just
a
like
cool
eating
moment.
her face. Yeah. I don't really. I guess this is a character, but Nagini is included in this list, and then Bellatrix and Voldemort. That's all of them.
Wow.
Does
Pretty
Harry
good.
Potter count? Because technically he died, came back, but you know.
Yeah, we could count that. 24.
know-
Harry Potter.
When you look at that list, there's a very heavy-sided fatality rate on that.
Yeah. Yep. Which just shows how. I don't know. I feel like most of the Death Eaters were just cowards. You know.
Well, but they were also battle tested. Like the first Wizarding War and everything, they had duels. They've had experience where they're fighting
It's
kids.
true.
You know what I mean?
They got older, man. They couldn't take on a high school.
It's true. I know what that's like.
That's weird. But
Okay.
yeah, let's talk
Move
about
on.
Fred. Let's talk about Fred. Let's talk about Fred, Remus, and Tonks' death and how that was not portrayed really well.
I want to
in the
tie it
movies.
in with a disappointment that they don't take a moment and have Percy come back.
Yes.
movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They don't take that super. It would have been such a simple moment. It would have been 5 more minutes of the movie. And I know, like, you know, we're getting nitpicky and all this stuff Connor said, but I felt like that was for me such a huge part in that book. That Percy was like, I was an idiot. I was a prat. I was all those things that you said I was, and I'm here. I'm trying to make up for it. Let me help you. And then that leads to this moment with Fred where they're fighting, and I think he's fighting the then Pious Thickness, the then Minister of Magic. And Percy, like, hits him with a curse, and he runs off, and he's like, "You can consider this my resignation." And Fred's like,
Yeah.
"Are you making a joke, Percy? Like, I haven't heard you joke since." And then the whole world implodes.
Yeah.
And you're just like, no. And then the first thing the book has you hear is Percy.
Yeah.
That's who you hear, is Percy yelling no. It should have been
Yeah.
me. No. Like, as a brother, that just tears me apart, knowing that your sibling's gone. And George isn't even there when they're fighting in that sequence, which I think is like, where's your twin brother, bro? Like,
Yeah.
what?
I also like with
Y'all are joined at the hip through the whole thing, but now you're gone.
I also like the part with Percy coming back in the book. You know, he's like, "I'm sorry, I was wrong, I was stupid," like all that stuff, and how I can't remember if it's both Fred and George are there at that moment when he first comes back, but they were like instantly just like, "No worries, mate. Like, welcome back to the family," kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
it was like no big deal. And that's all he had to say. I that was a really cool part. And then along with what you're just saying about when Fred dies, I think the most gut-wrenching part of that moment is, well, Percy, you know, and Ron just like crying and screaming, right? Just like, no, no, no. But the chapter ends with that, and she says, the chapter ends with,
His,
like,
his
basically
last laughs etched on his face.
was like the ghost on his face or whatever or something like that. It was just like so sad because, you know, Fred and George are these I guess you could call them the comedic relief of the entire series, if you ask me. They're just really the funniest guys in the whole series, and him dying with a smile on his face or a laugh on his face is just even more gut-wrenching than just him dying in general. That kills.
Yeah, I mean, rip Dobby, but holy heck, Fred just
Yeah.
murders my soul every time. And and statistically, good job Weasley family for only
Right.
losing one, but it was a big one. It was like, why couldn't it have been Charlie?
Percy.
Like,
Okay.
like, yo, yeah, Percy.
Percy.
You know, like, it's rough, and I can I can only imagine, like, you have these thoughts like, okay, we're doing well in this battle, I can finally make amends with my family, and then you lose someone who's really was probably, I mean, if you think about it, Percy was, for the most part, Fred and George's like direct older brother, right? They had Bill and Charlie, but they were both older. And then they had Percy, who, yeah, they made fun of like their whole life, but that was like their next brother, and that's it. Like,
That's how brothers are, though.
right? But just like to think that, I can make up with I can make up with my younger brother, and then just lose him straight out is just, I'm dead inside talking about it. So.
Yeah. So to my older brothers who may or may not be listening to this, just every time you see me, think, what if I died? How would you feel? Treat me better.
Don't be a Percy.
Don't be a Percy. Yeah. And then also Remus and Tonks.
Yeah, that, I mean, across the board, that just sucks.
Yeah.
I have a hard time seeing the necessity of Tonks' death. I understand Remus. because
Yeah.
he's the last of the Marauders. It
It
closes the chapter on that whole chapter
Chapter.
on that. I get that, but Tonks was a hard pill for me to swallow.
Yeah, it didn't really make sense, and especially with her just having a baby, it really didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like, why leave this? Why
Yeah.
end the series with another orphan? You know what I mean? I mean, I don't know. I
Keep
was
the chain going. Here's a fun fact. A lot of fans were really mad that Harry didn't name one of his sons with the name Remus. There's
I
a
was
reason.
gonna bring that up.
There's a reason. Go ahead.
I was too.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't gonna bring that up exactly.
I was not.
Oh. I wasn't necessarily gonna bring that up exactly, as in like why he didn't name one of his kids Remus. I was gonna bring up why weren't any of their kids, middle name, first name, whatever, why wasn't one of them named Fred?
Well, I think that George has a kid named Fred.
I don't care. Give him a middle name.
It's the
I
same.
felt like Ginny.
It's the same reason that you. It's the same.
Well, it's the
reason
same
with
thing with
Remus. They
Remus.
left the name for Teddy, Remus's son, to use for his kid.
But I
and-
feel like Ginny's just like, or Harry's just like, Ginny, I got the names, okay?
I got
Back.
it.
I got it. You don't get any of them. I got all the names taken care of.
They're gonna be huge.
That's
They're
what
the-
I did.
They're the longest names ever. Like they're
Yeah.
so long.
Anyway,
Um,
go on with the Remus name. That's
Yeah,
I mean, you kinda
that was
already
really
explained
it. Is that Harry doesn't name any of his kids with the name Remus, so that Remus's son, Teddy Lupin, who's named after Tonks's dead dad, which is also super sad, can then have the honor of naming his kid Remus, which would just be a slap in the face to Harry. It's just like, his name's Jeff. It's like, what are you doing? Like, what's wrong with you?
I named him Reginald.
Reginald
I gave you
Lupin.
Remus and you named him Reginald.
What's
He's
wrong
like,
with you?
I named him Harry after you.
My dog's
How
name
dare
is
you.
Remus. That's a fun fact.
Oh.
It's like, I named him after the bravest man ever, Harry Potter.
No! You ruined everything.
Just get mad.
You blew it.
You blew it.
All right. Well, I say we move on to. And look, Connor, do you have anything else?
No, that's good.
Dan?
Ooh.
Sorry, I
anything
have.
else?
I got one thing,
Go ahead,
yeah.
Dan.
Backtracking a little bit, it's just a small thing. I also like how Voldemort was disposed of in the book, because Voldemort wanted to live forever, right? Like, that was his thing. He wanted to live forever, be basically feared by everyone. And like, how much do you think, if he was alive, like his fear, of if he gets killed, being thrown just in a broom closet, like no one cares, just like, whoop, there's a sack of potatoes. Like, that's probably like the thing you can do to hurt him the most is
It's kind of like a big middle
disrespect him
finger
in his
to him.
memory. Exactly.
Yeah.
That was a good backtrack, Dan. I appreciated that.
That was solid, yeah.
Thank you.
I wanted to say one thing I loved in the movie was Neville and Seamus blowing up the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, McGonagall just saying, I've heard that Mr. Finnegan has a proclivity for explosions. And you're just like, finally, you've blown up everything in your life. Finally, you're putting it to good use. Let's do this. Like, and if you've
Yeah.
read the books, it's even more so. And they throw it into the movies where he just gets blown up by random crap constantly. But it's such a good moment. And, like, it's good.
I had one more thing, really quick. It was something I did not like in the movie, and it's not nitpicky. It's just me. I like serious moments in movies to stay serious, and I don't like them to throw in stupid little jokes. And
Like Marvel does all the time with their movies.
yeah, that's why
Or
I'm
the
actually not a
Star
huge
Wars
fan of
movies?
Marvel.
The new
Yeah,
one?
Star Wars movies
Oh,
are
the
perfect.
new Star Wars ones, yeah.
Anyway, so I love the like scene when McGonagall gets the statues to fight for the school, right? Super cool. Music is awesome. It's on point for that part in the movie. And she's telling him, like, do your duty to your school, like, protect us and stuff. And then she has that stupid line where
always
she
wanted to do
says,
that.
I've always wanted to use that spell. And that drives
I
me
love
crazy
that part.
every
It's
time.
adorable.
I
It's
love
not
that
in the
too.
book,
It's-
though. In the book, it's all serious. And I was like, that's how it should have been. Because it was just so cool, man. I don't know. I like how...
You
I
know what?
like
Give it
those
to Maggie
cool
Smith. She was
moments
fighting
and then-
cancer the whole time. She can say whatever the freaking heck she wants
She was?
No excuse.
to. No excuse.
I learned something today.
All right, anyway.
Logan doesn't care if you're dying from cancer, okay?
Okay,
Just do
okay.
your duty.
Job. Do your job.
And stay serious when you're about to get in a war.
The other sad
Okay.
thing I think they missed out on was Creature not leading the charge of the house elves into the battle, because Creature
That's
is my
true.
freaking boy, man. Like,
Okay. Yeah.
With the locket
Creature-
flopping
yeah.
up and down on his
yeah,
chest.
Creature
Yep.
team for life.
Yep.
Team Creature. Forget Jacob and Edward.
fair,
I'm
yeah.
Team Creature.
Team Creech.
Yeah. All right.
It's a
Yeah. All right.
K.
Let's move on to. You're right. It is a K. It's not a C. Let's move on to our favorite segment. We don't have very many, but let's do the. What am I? I can't even remember the word for it. Somebody help me
Fan
out here.
theory?
Fan theories?
Fan theories.
This is where the fun begins.
I could not think of that.
Okay.
word.
I'm going to start off with something that's not a fan theory, but I think is a very interesting sequence that Jake, like the director never said is an actual thing, but it's a movie, technically, theory. In the sequence, when Harry, Ron, and Hermione are like running through Hogwarts and fighting off in the wave of battle, and when they see, like, they get to the point where they see Lavender Brown and everything, that sequence. So the very beginning, like a banister or something falls over, and like all three of them are under it, and it mirrors them being like trapped under the bathroom stalls in the first movie. And then the next thing they do is they fight acromantulas, which references the second movie. And the next thing they see is Greyback biting Lavender Brown's face. He's a werewolf, which references Lupin being a werewolf in the third one. And then the fourth one, crap, what was the fourth one? I can't remember the fourth one now. I feel stupid. And then the fifth one, all the Order of the Phoenix members just pop up on screen, like in sequence. You see them fighting in the tower. You see them doing different duels. It shows Kingsley. It shows Remus. It shows Tonks. It shows all the members that are there, so it's Order of the Phoenix. And then the next thing you see is Snape in the battle. And then, like, so it references every single book, except for I'm dumb and can't remember what.
That's gonna
I
kill
know.
me because now I'm trying
I
to
gotta
think of
find
what
it. I
happens
gotta
for
find
the
it.
fourth.
I'm on it.
That's
Is there a
very cool,
dragon? No, there wasn't a dragon.
No, I thought dragon too.
Barty Crouch Jr.
though. The
Did he die?
Grindylows.
What happened to
Dementors.
him?
It's Dementors.
Oh,
Dementors.
The Dementors pop up, which he fought a Dementor in the maze and crap, but sorry,
That one's
that was
reaching,
reaching a
but
bit,
Okay.
but it was, that was gonna bug me.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Good job, Brian.
Fantastic. Go,
Yeah.
Brian.
Do you-
It was just a.
How many actual fan theories do you have?
I only have one more.
Yeah, just so everyone knows, fan theories for this one aren't very big. There's not a lot of them. Most of them are just like generally for the seventh book, but there's not even that many for the seventh book. I felt like. Also, to be fair, this last part is just war. You know, it's just a battle. So what can you really theorize at that point?
It's true. So if anyone else has another one,
I don't
I have a fan theory that
do it.
has to do with the prophecy and like how it was worded. And let me see if I can just find exactly how it was worded. But basically it's like what if the only way that Voldemort can die is by the hand of Harry? So what if the only way that Harry can die is by the hand of Voldemort? Which means that Harry is now immortal because there is no Voldemort to kill him.
what the freak?
Interesting. I have heard that. Actually, I do remember. I think I read the title or something that there's a theory that Harry is immortal, like he will never die. and I didn't read into it, so that's really interesting. Do you have any more on that?
Let me just look up the wording that it uses. I have no more like on it, but
I think
Well, while you're doing
I
that,
think it's
You go
that's
for it,
crazy to me. But I think logically it makes sense if you think about Voldemort's purpose was to gain immortality. So if the reflex is the reality, then I guess immortality would then go to the person that the prophecy is about. So
yeah.
yeah, and like the other thing was like Harry's sacrifice in like participating in the prophecy is that now that he's killed Voldemort, he is immortal, meaning he won't be able to pass on and be with the ones that he has loved like since the very beginning, like
ooh, sad
those who
twist.
die in this battle, including his parents, things like that. And that's like the biggest sacrifice that Harry can give up.
Interesting. I also want to mention that I think it's in the book during Harry's monologue with Voldemort. He explains how when Harry voluntarily showed up in the Dark Forest to die, right, to be killed by Voldemort, that created the same protection around everybody that he was dying for, that Harry had from his mother dying for him, that, you know, that love protection. And that was really cool. That was something that I had completely forgot from the first time I listened to the book. And in the movie, I thought that was crazy. Or in the book, I thought that was crazy. And really cool. I thought it was a really cool moment in the book.
So the wording is, and either must die at the hand of the other. And either means like not both, but one. Either
One.
must die. One must die.
Right.
Crazy.
Interesting. So since the prophecy doesn't mention both will end up dying, it means
That'd be
that
really sad.
one will
It's
live
like,
forever.
sorry, Mom, Dad, I'm never coming home. No big deal.
But I had to, because I had to kill Voldemort.
That's true. I mean, like, if you think about it, everybody else sacrificed for Harry quite a bit. It's the least he could do.
Que triste.
Walk the earth forever and never
Yeah.
see your parents again.
Grow up. I mean, he's never seen him before, so it's not like...
Dan, did you have one at all?
I'm reading one right now.
Okay, well, you finish reading that one. I'll just say mine real quick.
I don't know. Yeah, you do that.
Mine's super simple and doesn't have a lot to it, and just for me makes sense. It's similar to the Dursleys being affected by the Horcrux that was in Harry that made them a jerk. But in reference to Percy, is that he was under the Imperious Curse. I mean, it's kind of just like a moment to cop out kind of for Percy. It was like he wasn't under his own power and things like that. But it kind of starts with this argument, is really kind of comes up out of nowhere between him and his dad, and then he's just like, I'm not going to be part of this family anymore. And it seems like a very, very hard 180 to where Percy was before, where he was, yes, he was a very rules following kind of guy, but now but he always loved his family. As much as he didn't get along with his twin brothers at times, he always loved his family. And now he just doesn't care about them anymore. It's a very strong turn for him. And so there's not a lot of depth to the theory, but it was that Fudge actually wanted someone someone low enough that it wouldn't be noticeable enough that had good standing with Dumbledore. Percy was head boy, he was prefect, all these things. Had good standing and a good relationship with Dumbledore, that he could try to get at least a little bit of information, whether it was from Dumbledore directly. If not Dumbledore, then the Weasleys through Arthur and Molly because of their relationship with Dumbledore. But after, just in sequence of events, Fudge started the Imperious Curse, which made him very much dedicated to the Ministry. and Fudge never lifted the curse until, like, basically the theory goes until moments before the fight. Like, basically there's just, like, as a convenient plot point, Fudge remembered that he cursed Percy and lifted the curse. Like, you know, like, but that's why he...
Who was that one?
Weatherby? Is that...
I think his name was Weatherby.
That's why he's still following the ministry even in the 6th one when they know that there's things going wrong, is because he's still... His Imperious curse is to follow the rules of the ministry, not to follow Fudge, but the ministry. And so until that's lifted, that's why he's so regimented like that. But that's just kind of a random thing, and gives Percy an out.
That's a good one.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dan, did you figure that one out?
I am. So I actually came across this one while I was looking at the one where, I don't know what that was, where Harry Potter is immortal from the prophecy thing. And it talks about a reason he could be immortal. It says that when Chamber of Secrets, Harry Potter, he killed the basilisk. And if I remember correctly, like, part of Horcrux is you have to split your soul. Killing splits the soul, but it's an animal, so, you know, it's not sure. But if we assume that killing an animal does split even a piece of your soul, it went around looking for something to attach to, and the closest thing was Fawkes the Phoenix. And so when Fawkes brought him back, his soul attached to that. And the reason that Harry Potter is immortal now is because when a phoenix dies, it becomes ash and it grows back. It becomes it becomes another phoenix. And so that, sorry, I got a text from someone, Brian.
You texted me first.
I just died. But yeah, and so that kind of, it also explains how he comes back in Deathly Hallows, is because he's got a Horcrux and a phoenix which can never die, and talks about how he'll live forever because of that Horcrux sort of thing. So it was just cool, what I came across. Not sure if I believe it.
He's not a believer.
I'm a believer.
We should do one on Shrek. We should do an episode on Shrek.
Oh, that's a good idea. I will dive deep into
Yes.
Shrek. I will. I'm going to find fan theories. I'm going to find deep lore about Shrek. Where's his
This
entire
has nothing to
species
do with
and
this
everything.
podcast. I need to say this story. Went to Disney World. I'm going to say it super quick. They had these little concert things in Epcot. And guess who the band that was there the day we were there?
You sent it to me, and I was so jealous.
Mouth.
Smash Mouth, dude.
Okay, not only
That's
this,
so cool.
but
That's
there was
beautiful.
someone in the front row with a stuffed Shrek doll. Now think about this for a minute. Shrek is not a Disney property. So someone went knowing that Smash Mouth was going to be there that day and bought a Shrek doll, brought it into the park just to show Smash Mouth the Shrek doll.
They just went to the park.
The
for
last
Smash
song
Mouth.
they
That
did
is so
was
cool.
the
Easily.
And I Saw Her Face. That was the last song they did. So
I'm a believer. That's so good. That's a great idea. I'm gonna write that down so I
I'd
don't
have the
forget
perfect guest. Lauren, my beautiful girlfriend, in high school, she was in Shrek the musical.
oh gosh.
So she's
Oh, no.
she doesn't just know Shrek, she's been in Shrek.
she has been Shrek.
Oh, that's
It's like that. It's that line from How I Met Your Mother. The only people who haven't seen Shrek are the people who are in Shrek.
They
because
lived
they
it.
lived
They
it.
lived it.
They lived it, man. That's awesome. Well, I think on that note, I think we're in a good spot to end this episode. What do you guys
I
think?
agree. I got nothing else.
I think it's a good natural ending.
Ooh, Connor.
Oh, he's
Okay.
I
Connor
want to
has
say
one
one
more
more thing. I
Go
just
for it.
want to bring it back because we all really love our boy Neville. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the fan theory is that Neville wasn't a bad wizard. He just had the wrong wand. Have you heard this one?
We somewhat talked about this earlier.
Like way earlier. I think in like
Kinda
this,
did.
like when we talked
Yeah.
about Chamber of Secrets, because the same thing kind of happens with Ron. So I think we referenced.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's
Not
a
to
great
shoot you
theory, though,
down,
because
but
No,
No.
yeah.
Bang,
but
bang.
really though that theory is really cool, mainly because you mainly see Neville's progression as a wizard in 6 and 7, which are what we're talking about. And so I think I think that's one of the best theories. I don't even think that's really a theory at this point. I think that's
Confirmed.
just facts.
It's
I
just
think
confirmed.
you
Yeah,
did
just
have
look
you
at
did
it.
help
I
me
mean-
think of something really random and short though. When Neville I think this happens in the book and not in the movie, but Voldemort lights the Sorting Hat on fire on top of Neville's head. If you remember, at the very beginning in the first book, Draco Malfoy doesn't even know how the sorting ceremony works. So, and Draco Malfoy even knew that the Goblet of Fire tournament, the Triwizard tournament was going to be happening. Things like that. He's in the know. His dad would have told him. The theory goes that the hat was actually a secret keeper, and the secret it was keeping was the sorting ceremony. And so no one could say it. But then at the end of the last book, Harry is talking to his son about it and says, the hat will take your thoughts into consideration. He's able to talk to his kid about it because the hat, in a way, died when it was lit on fire, and now everybody who's been through the ceremony is now a secret keeper for the ceremony. So that was just a really random little one there. But
That's cool.
That's cool.
That is cool.
That's a cool one. All right, well, that was a good episode. Connor,
Yes.
thanks for joining
Shrek
us.
is
That was
love.
really fun.
Thanks for
Shrek is
having me.
love.
Shrek is
life. Connor, I know you know a lot of nerdy stuff, so we'll probably see you in the future with, if we get to DC or superhero stuff, you're into that. We'll need you. Because I
Yeah,
don't
we'll
know
definitely
anything.
need backup
But,
on that ring.
cool.
So.
Yeah.
I know a lot about the Joker, so I can
Okay,
help you there.
cool. Yeah, so thank you for joining us today. That was super fun. Again, everyone can check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and a bunch of other random podcast apps or programs that I don't really know the names of. But we're really thankful for everybody that listens. We don't care how many listen. We just want to do this for fun, and we enjoy it. So if you have suggestions, we have a Discord. Please hop in, introduce yourself in the introductions tab so we know who you are. And,
The Discord is the Council of Nerds Discord.
yes.
That's the
Yes.
title of it. If you can't find it for some reason, maybe spell it different. I don't know. There's no Z's or
Or
anything.
if you can't find it, maybe write a comment on YouTube and I'll throw the link in there or something.
Link in the
But
description.
Again, thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
The Council of Nerds.